My name is Abu Zubair, and I'll be the host for this session. And we have our own ATT. We have our Marco from Costa Rica. Hey, Marco, how are you doing?
Hey, Habu, how are you doing? Nice meeting you again.
Nice meeting you. Thank you for your time, Marco. And I know it's a very busy week, and you're teaching all day long. And after the all the teaching, you're recording it. Thank you so much. So, Marco, what are you going to teach us today?
Today we're going to be talking about a couple of really good tools that we have as a corporation, which are GitHub and also Azure DevOps. And there's a lot of questions regarding about which tool should I use, which one is better. So that's what we're going to be talking about today.
That's exciting. We love DevOps and we love GitHubs, right? And we are what are you gonna use, right? That's really important, right? And yeah, it's your now. It's your show. Go ahead.
Okay, that's great. So let me just share my screen. Let me know once you're able
Yeah, I can
to
see
see.
it. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Well, first of all, thank you, Abu, for giving me some time in order to present. Hopefully, this is going to be useful for everybody. I'm going to try to do a really quick summary. We have a little time, so I'm going to try to go straight to the point. So, what are we going to be talking about today? Actually, we're going to be talking about two tools, like I mentioned. We have GitHub and we have Azure DevOps and the integration between both of them. So the best of both worlds. Now
Beautiful.
let's
Beautiful.
roll.
That's good. We're really looking forward to that. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So these are the topics we're going to be covering. First of all, the strengths between both tools. So we're going to be discussing about the areas where they actually compete. We're going to be talking about security, uh, code spaces or collaboration, and we're going to finish with a demo about the integration between both of the tools.
Nice. Nice. Yeah.
Okay, so let's begin.
So, Marco, before you begin, very quick question. So, you're gonna discuss DevOps versus GitHub. So, what is the best tool?
So, well, actually, that's a pretty nice question. Very, or that's the question that every student asks me all the time,
That's
every
right.
time. Right now, as you already know, Microsoft acquired GitHub in 2018, actually in June. The announcement was released, and we bought GitHub. At the beginning, GitHub used to be a collaboration tool in order to share my code so you could review it, and Azure DevOps had that as well with Azure Repo, but also some other features. But now GitHub is in a point where it's actually competing with Azure DevOps because it shares some of the codes or the base and actually are competing in some of the areas. So in order to answer you, which tool should be using you at this moment between Azure DevOps and GitHub? Well, actually, one for a sec. Uh, I think that you should be using both of them. So in here, you're seeing at this moment the famous Octocat. I really love this pet. It's the pet from GitHub, and now it's also our pet. So right now, you should be using both of them. If you ask me, I think that there's no way you could use or select either or the other. And actually, I'm going to show you why.
So basically, both of them has their own use cases, basic to use.
Exactly. And besides work cases, each of them have their own strengths where they compete, but in some cases, Azure DevOps is better, is doing a better job, and in others, GitHub is doing a better job. So in here, I'm going to summarize some of the areas or the features that we have at this moment with Azure DevOps and the strange areas for each of the tools. And I'm going to tell you which are some of the features that work a little bit better. So just in case, today, and hopefully I'm seeing myself, just in case, today we're going to be discussing this area. Hold on for a sec. This happens to me all the time. Now, today we're going to be discussing about these areas: plan, track, and develop. Um, Probably we could do a second session. We still don't have it, but we're going to be talking a little bit more about this probably in the future. But today we're going to be focusing in the first area: plan, track, and develop. So at this moment, when we see the end-to-end solution talking about DevOps, we have, like I was telling you, some areas where Azure DevOps is stronger than GitHub and vice versa. For example, when we start talking about plan and tracking or methodologies, if we talk about how to implement the project management workflow in a DevOps project, and we talk about Agile, Scrum, and the other methodologies, then at this moment, as you are seeing in here, I have highlighted boards. Boards, it's the current feature that is managing the project management feature in a DevOps tool, basically, or in Azure DevOps itself. So at this moment, you should be using boards if you want to track your project, if you want to assign it to the team members, if you want to follow the task, if you want to create the hierarchy of Agile or Scrum. Because at this moment, with GitHub, even though we have issues in project, we are still not there. So I suggest you to use board in order to track your environment in a DevOps environment.
And that's a very matured, I would say, project management solutions, right? The boards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Board at this moment is a complete project management solution focused on Agile methodology. So with GitHub, you'll see that we are not there yet. So I suggest you to use board.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we talk about where should you store your repository, or your code itself, well, actually, both tools have their own repo solution. Now, in terms of repo, in terms of, for example, sharing, creating pull requests, approving, checking the history, I think that both tools are doing great things. But there are a couple of features that GitHub have at this moment that suggest you, or that's why I suggest you to use repo in GitHub. Which are those solutions? Well, code spaces and advanced security features that we're going to be discussing in a couple of minutes. So in terms of repo, I suggest you to use GitHub at this moment because of the following features that we have in GitHub so far. So that's what I would suggest you. Now, if we talk about artifacts, so basically if you want to create a package or a library and share it between your repositories, at this moment both solutions have the the artifacts or the packages solution. So you could upload your package, your library, a code that you're going to be using in order to avoid duplicate code. So both of the tools are correct. So I would suggest you to use either or the other one, depending on where you have your repo at this moment, and also where you are going to be actually running your pipeline. And actually, that's the other section, pipelines. So basically, continuous integration and continuous deployment. So where should you build your pipeline? Well, actually, at this moment, both of these tools have very good solutions. In fact, I would say that at this moment, the actions, which is the tool that makes you or allows you to create your build pipeline and your deploy pipeline in GitHub, I think that is based on Azure pipeline. So they're quite similar. So which one should you use? Basically, where you have your repo and your artifacts, that's where you use, that's the tool that you should select. So if you're using at this moment GitHub repo or code and GitHub actions, then that's the tool that you have to use. Now, in terms of feedback, not test, but feedback from the customer, in Azure DevOps, we have a very good tool named test plans that allows you to create test plans, send them to your final users. So you could hear comments, they could copy and paste some screenshots or send videos. So at this moment, we have test plans in Azure, but we don't have anything related in GitHub. So test plans is the place where you have to actually use if you want to get the feedback from the customers.
Oh yeah, that's really important, test plan, because you need to
Exactly.
know how is the new packages or deployment is affecting their environment. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. That's the point. And in terms of monitoring, well, at this moment in Azure DevOps, we have dashboards and reporting, and it allows you to create your personal metrics, your personal dashboards and reports in order to see how many, for example, pipelines have been running, how many deployments have you been doing, how many of them have been failing, how many of them are succeeding. So the only option that allows you to create at this moment dashboards and these reports is Azure DevOps. So I suggest you to stay with Azure DevOps in case you want this kind of reporting. So, uh, well, at this moment, like I was telling you, this section is going to be just highlighted because we're going to be focusing in these two sections in here. So let's speed up because we have a little time and a lot of things to cover.
Sure, sure. Yeah.
Well, in terms of security, right now there's a very cool feature that GitHub is actually giving to us just by using GitHub, and that's advanced security analysis. We can see some security analysis that are going to be directly run in our code. What type of analysis are we going to be running? Well, first of all, uh, vulnerability and dependency security analysis. What's that? So, have you ever have you ever have doubts about, hey, is my are my dependencies the dependencies that I'm using, because when we program, we are not going to program every each line. We're going to be using some packages,
Yeah.
libraries that have been developed by NuGet, by
Yeah.
other external sources. So do you know how secure they are?
No idea.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that's why GitHub is giving us a what we call a software composition analysis tool that is going to check if your dependencies are the latest dependencies, if your dependencies are vulnerable at this moment, and GitHub is going to give you a report about that. So that's the first good feature, software composition analysis. Based on the packages that you're using and based on open source code that you might be using as well. Now, the other one, CodeQL. CodeQL, it's an analysis that is going to be doing a static analysis code. What's that? So CodeQL is going to be treating your programming lines as as a database. Why? Because CodeQL is going to be analyzing line by line your code, and is going to identify, for example, code smells. So if there's something that you should be fixing because it's not efficient, or is there a line of code that might be vulnerable to attacks? So that's the other feature that CodeQL is going to be using or
And
giving
that is
us.
integrated with GitHub, right? Advanced security.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Is
that's
integrated with GitHub. And let's talk about that. Well, and just to finish the security part, with this, what we're trying to do is we're trying to shift to the left all the security scanning. So we don't have to wait until we have deployed our application in the environment in order to execute analysis. So we're executing this analysis right or in the beginning of the project, which is going to save you time, because you don't have to actually execute this running in an environment, and also probably money, because you are going to be discovering a lot of these problems or bugs uh, during the programming of the code. Now let's jump into a quick session or a quick demo about these tools. So let's just jump and go right straight to GitHub at this moment. I have a couple of repositories in GitHub. So let's check first of all the dependency analysis or the software composition analysis. You're going to find it in the security section. So you are going to jump into the security section of your project, and you are going to jump into the dependable alerts. In the dependable alerts, take a look at here. I have several alerts based on the dependency that I'm using, and also GitHub is telling me about the severity of this alert. So let's jump into one of these alerts. GitHub is telling me that, for example, I have at this moment one of the dependencies in this version, and it's recommending me to jump into version or to use instead version 1.2.3. And why is he telling me that? Well, first of all, is explaining to me, for example, the remediation. Where do I have to do this? And it's giving me, if you take a look in here, the details about this problem. So what's the problem with this dependency itself? So it's explaining to me the dependency problem. If we go and click into the dependency, we'll get even more information. And if you take a look at the number, for example, the number, if you see, it's even referencing the common vulnerability exposure that has been written in the Mitre organization website. We're not going that deep because there's a lot that we still have to cover.
Yeah.
By the way, there's another really good feature. Besides telling me, for example, how should I remediate the problem, if you take a look at this section, review required, if you go and click in there, we are that link is sending me into the pull request environment. Why is that? Because the Ventabot is also intelligent, and he's analyzing that in a very easy way. It can remediate automatically your code. So it is actually creating a pull request in order to try to merge the change and actually change your code in order to use the new and the safest dependency. So in here, the only thing you will need to do is approve the change. In case you actually review the change and everything seems okay, you could automatically just approve the request, and then you will have your code totally automated. So if you take a look at this, it's a very intelligent tool. Now, let's move on. Also, remember that apart from checking your dependencies and doing a software composition analysis, we are also analyzing your code. So let's go into this section named Code Scanning Alerts. And if we go into the Code Scanning Alerts, in here, take a look at all of these alerts that I have in here. So it's telling me as well that I have some code smells in some of my programming lines, and it's telling me as well the severity. Let's jump into one of them. So if I click in there, it's telling me that, hey, CodeQL is telling me, hey, in line 1394, you have, in this case, an inefficient regular expression. This regular expression, and it's telling me, hey, this is part of our regular expression that may cause exponential backtracking. So it's telling me, hey, you might have a security breach in your code, and it's giving me a description about the problem. I can expand this, and it's giving me even a recommendation that I can use in order to fix the in this case the regular expression. So it's a very nice feature.
Yeah, that's really great feature. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and with this, the tool itself is automatically doing this security analysis, so you can actually deploy a safer code to your customers. So this is going to save you huge amount of time in production mostly.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's jump into the session once again.
I can see why the developers love GitHub. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and by the way, and developers love even more GitHub because in the past, GitHub didn't used to have all of these features. Actually, this is Microsoft exponentially improving GitHub. So that's actually Microsoft working in straining and doing great products. Now, I'm going to show you about some other great functionality that was added to GitHub at this moment. It's named Code Spaces. So, what is Code Spaces? So, for example, let's do. Let me just do a quick, for example, diagram. Let's, for example, think about this environment. Let's assume that you are creating your code here. Let's assume that you are creating your code, and in order to create your code, you actually have to run your code in, a Docker container. In a Docker container, but you have little memory and just a few CPU. So your computer just cannot keep up with all of the things that you have to install and run. So for this, in this type of cases, you could use Code Spaces. So what is Code Spaces? Let's take a look at this. With Code Spaces, you will have a cloud environment that is going to be actually giving you a some sort of runtime place, a virtual runtime place where you are going to be able to use your Visual Studio Code. You'll be able to use some extensions like Dockers and run your container images. You'll be able to even share your session. So you are going to be actually creating a virtual environment that is going to be in the inside a container with, for example, in this case, an IDE, which is going to be Visual Studio Code, is going to give you, for example, some other benefits like, for example, a Docker engine environment, and also is going to do a checkout of your favorite project. And with this environment, you could be sitting with your laptop with few resources and access and actually code in this virtual environment. And the best thing is that you could share your sessions with multiple developers. So all of the developers at the same time, even if they are physically apart, they could be they're going to be seeing your session and they will be actually coding along with you. So
Wow.
at the same time.
So basically, every like a group of developers will be working together, basically, right? Coding.
Exactly.
Nice.
That's exactly the point. So you will be leveraging the power of the cloud, and also you'll be sharing your session and coding at the same time. And this is great for actually the current situation with the COVID-19 and all of the problems that we have. So in order to avoid contact. So let's take a look at how we actually stand up a code space environment. Code spaces at this moment is in a preview, so you have to ask for the feature at this moment. Once you have the feature, let's jump into, for example, let's jump into this project. I have or after you select or after you request to join the feature and you get selected, then you will have to actually take a look at this. You will have to create this folder, that dev container. In this folder, you will have to create a Docker file. In the Docker file, you will have to select an image that you will be using in order to actually create a container that is going to have all of the extensions and features that you need. For example, Visual Studio Code, Docker Engine, that is going to allow you to actually work in this container. And also, in the dev container, that JSON, you will have to actually configure the settings of the Visual Studio. Now, once you have this container, this folder with all this configuration, you will have to go into your settings, select your code spaces, and first of all, take a look at this. At this moment, I have 2 code spaces. So I have possibly 2 virtual machines that I can stand up at the same time. And first of all, the code spaces, like I was telling you, is going to be a container that is going to be created based on demand. And the code spaces can you can select the best hardware requirements that best fit your needs. At this moment, I have a standard, which are 4 virtual CPUs and 8 gigs of RAM. If I go into the 3 dots and select, for example, open in browser, I'm going to open a session with Visual Studio Code running inside an HTML5 session, or I can open it directly using Visual Studio Code. Just for fun, I'm going to open up using Visual Studio Code in the session. I'm sorry, in the browser. So this is going to take a couple of seconds. And after that, I'm going to be actually seeing like the Visual Studio Code in the browser. So if you take a look at this, I'm running at this moment a container that is that has installed Visual Studio Code, and I'm able to access Visual Studio Code using HTML5. And for example, if I want to share the session, all I have to do is, well, actually, let's give it some time to run. You just have to select the live share button. You share the session. I'm going to click share. Let's just give it a couple of seconds. So in here, it's selecting, and take a look in here. It's starting the session, so I can send the session to other developers so they can actually see what I'm coding at the same time, and we can all collaborate and program at the same time with the exact same repository or code at this moment.
No, that's awesome, basically. Yeah, so everybody can work together, basically, right? And
exactly.
Real life collaboration. That's it for today's session. And Marco, you did amazing. I really loved the way you demonstrated GitHub and presented the GitHub's basically strength in regards to the advanced security. But yeah, thank you so much, Marco, for your time.
Thank you, Abu, and hopefully we can schedule the second session so we can just keep demonstrating the benefits of both of worlds. Okay.
All right, Marco. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Hogs, take care.